that. So there's a lot from Mike Bassick right there. The Aiyuk question is very interesting. Is he on the cusp of being elite? And if he is, what is that worth, Shasky? What is it worth? Now, TJ Houshmandzadeh joined Willard and Dibs yesterday. And I had no idea because I was kind of out of commission last night. And this is fascinating to me. Amon-Ra St. Brown, what was his contract? What do you get?
I have everything right here.
What's his contract?
Amon-Ra St. Brown got $34 million at signing. $77 million is the guarantee over the life of the contract. It's a 4-year, $120 million contract.
All right. So that's the deal.
So I have in order all the various contracts, but continue.
So I'm focusing on Amon-Ra St. Brown because TJ Houshmandzadeh said this with Willard and Dibs.
If you had offered him Amon-Ra St. Brown's deal, he would be there. Now, I don't know this to be fact, but I believe that to be the case.
Oh, he also said this.
If they want to get BA signed, give him the Amon-Ra deal. Give it to him. Okay. And guarantee he'll be in there tomorrow.
You are.
They don't want to do that.
Whoa. Amon-Ra is the same. Is it Aiyuk comparison?
Amon-Ra? That's who I would compare him to. Amon-Ra St. Brown. If the Niners are willing to give him that type of contract, guaranteed. That just shows you they're not willing to give him that type of contract.
So let's just start right there. We all love Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a captain in Detroit Lions. Makes big boy plays.
Power slot guy.
I mean, can't tackle him one-on-one. Can't arm tackle him. He's a beast. He's a dog, as the kids say. But how would the fans accept it? How do we look at Brandon Aiyuk? Are we overrating him? Are we underrating him? Amon-Ra St. Brown money is a lot of money. And Detroit, they're a team they're a physical team, right? They love to run the ball. They love balance. They love to be 50-50. They got Montgomery. They got Jameer Gibbs. They got 2 great running backs. They can run it. They got a powerful offensive line, but also got lethal weapons at the wide receiver position. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best out there. Amon-Ra St. Brown money for Brandon Aiyuk. How do you feel when you hear that, Shasky?
Amon-Ra's younger. Amon-Ra's their number one, pretty much. I mean, we could go with the Laporta, but I think it's Amon-Ra. And he had a more prolific season this year. I think Aiyuk is in that area. Like, we are splitting hairs. Can we all admit, like, when it comes to these wide receivers, there's a lot of preference that gets involved. There's the system and all that. I think it's too much money for a wide receiver on this team. The way that they're trying to build their team. Amon-Ra got that deal, and I think this is important. The timeline is important to me. On April 24th, that was one day before the draft. The draft was April 25th, and I'm looking at all the contracts that were handed out leading up to it. And I think if the Niners were going to give him anything in that area, it would have been in that 24-hour span. Either before Amon-Ra, during the Amon-Ra thing when it was announced, or immediately after, before the draft. I think the Niners have made it pretty clear. And I'm just going off of what I'm seeing and reading the tea leaves. Mike Evans got his deal in March. Pittman got a deal in March. Judy, traded for, got a deal in March. April 15th was the beginning of the frenzy. Devontae goes 3 for 75. Then A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown, within hours of each other, get announced right around before the draft. I think the Niners were dangling Aiyuk out there in draft talks, and I don't think they got what they wanted. And I think they said, all right, we're just going to hold on to him for right now. This is just my feel on the situation. A month later, Nico Collins gets a 3-year, $73 million extension. Waddle goes $385, and then just recently, Justin Jefferson breaks the market.
However, I know this is because of what happened last week. The Niners traditionally, under John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, would extend these guys around training camp. Now, that didn't happen with Christian McCaffrey. You had to get Juwan Jennings to sign the tender. They did extend Odom. So traditionally, they've waited for Fred Warner, George Kittle, Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel. Those 4 core guys, they had to wait till camp, right, to get their money. But obviously, we saw something different this past week with Christian McCaffrey. And, of course, we saw that with Jennings signing his tender. So it's kind of It's an out-of-body experience for the 49ers to do this now, to do this early on when it comes to these contract negotiations.
The Debo thing is interesting. They did eventually agree with Debo. Debo showed up.
He showed up. He was a hold-in.
But I think we all can acknowledge, I think it was pretty close to them trading him. They at least fielded calls, okay? And so when I heard that the Niners were in on Justin Jefferson, it almost like backed up what I've been feeling. They've got a number for Aiyuk. They don't think he's worth X. Well, let's say X in this case, the denominator that we don't know. X is whatever Aiyuk is asking. They don't think he's worth X. They have a number in mind. I think they dangled him. They didn't get what they wanted. They tried to make a move for Justin Jefferson. I think they were thinking about it. They were sniffing around it. Justin Jefferson was going to stay. I think now they have Aiyuk. They have a number. Aiyuk has a number that is obviously higher than what the Niners want. And I think now the Niners are willing to say to him one of two things. You're playing on the deal you have currently.
Right.
We'll give you this contract at lesser than what you want, or we're dealing you. And I think they even gave him the opportunity to sniff around and find the money he's looking for, and we'll work out the trade. And clearly either the capital that they wanted to get in return wasn't there, or maybe there wasn't a team that wanted to do business with Aiyuk, given that they had to give up draft capital to get him.
Here's what Houshmandzadeh had to say about the process here with Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers with Willard and Dibs yesterday.
It's disheartening, man, because as a player, you just want to get what you feel you've earned. That's all it is. And when you feel you're worth this and they're offering you that, obviously that's the case, because that's why he hadn't shown up yet. It's disheartening. And then it starts to make you angry. I went through this as a player. It starts to make you angry. And so hopefully this can be resolved sooner than later, because the longer this goes on, it's just a lot of animosity on the player side. It just pisses you off. And when you get paid, you're happy about it, but you're still kind of angry about, like, damn, like they really don't think I'm that good.
Well, how about this? TJ Houshmandzadeh was talking about working out with Brandon Aiyuk, and he said he called it off because he felt like maybe he was optimistic.
I got a lot planned this summer with not just BA, a lot of the guys that I'm working with, the stuff and the things that we're going to do. But, yeah, he'll be out for sure in the summer. But, it was at one point he thought he may sign. So it was like, I'm not going to come out because I might have to go when I sign. And so that optimistic outlook has turned into a pessimistic outlook now. Like, damn, at one point he thought, hey, I might be leaving soon. And so now it's like I have no idea.
Wait a minute. Follow up here. When was Aiyuk optimistic?
Probably about a month and a half ago, I would say. There was a little optimism in the air. Yeah, I would say, yeah. You always think that, though, especially when you see certain guys have signed and you're like, okay, I'm comparable to this guy. This should be easy. Now let's get it done.
And now he's pessimistic?
It has to be pessimistic when you're not in minicamp, correct? Would you say so? You can't be optimistic when it's a mandatory camp and you're not there.
And so it reminds me of when Aiyuk was dancing in the Instagram video when Amon-Ra St. signed his deal. He was dancing thinking, hey, man, he got the new money. Hey, man, he's got big cash. Let's go. And now he's pessimistic. And with all those receivers getting all that money, yeah, I think the Niners are sniffing around trying to – they always do.
Yeah.
They tell you up front, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, they tell you up front, we're always looking to make our team better, and we'll always pick up the phone. We'll always pick up the phone and listen to what teams have to say about our players or offers. They've done it with everybody here. How many times we hear about Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, Deebo Samuel. They've always listened. Hell, I don't know if they did it with Nick Bosa, but hell, maybe they did. I don't know. Brandon Aiyuk's situation is very interesting because I don't believe the 49ers can go back to the Super Bowl without him on this current roster. Because the more and more I think about it, and when this whole saga started, I'd say, why can't you just squeeze Deebo and Aiyuk for one more year? You had the money to have both of them on the roster for one more season, even if you gave Aiyuk the new money deal, and then you move off Deebo next season. But Lubman threw a stat at me about third downs, and I always think about these playoff games and third downs, the money down in the NFL. You got to be really good on third downs to advance and play deep into the playoffs. 18 of Brock Purdy's 55 third down completions with the Brandon Aiyuk. Is that the most on the team? I believe it's the most on the team. I don't think you can mess around with this. You got to get this guy in camp. And if you have to overpay for him, sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and overpay. But I don't feel comfortable going into the season without Brandon Aiyuk, Shasky. I really don't.
I think most people agree with that point. Like, you don't feel comfortable with him. But I I kind of like how the Niners are playing this one. Like, I'm sorry, this wide receiver market's out of control. Like, it just is. The money being thrown around is out of control. That's just my particular opinion. And you might have kind of screwed yourself by giving Debo all that you did. And then when you acquire Christian McCaffrey, the money for Debo looks a little out of whack because his usage isn't what it was prior.
Let's get $28 million this year.
Again, when you gave him the deal, CMC wasn't on the team.
No, he wasn't.
You know, and Debo was a large part of what you thought. But also,
and Aiyuk wasn't this Aiyuk.
But that's a point I want to make. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown has been an impact player pretty much every play of his whole career. Brandon Aiyuk's been a little up and down. Now, the last year was outstanding. It was absolutely outstanding. But when you want to get paid outstanding money, you have to be outstanding every year. Now, he might be an outstanding player moving forward, like Devontae. Devontae early on was not an elite player. I'm talking about
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams, thank you, from Green Bay. He struggled early on, dropped the ball a lot, and he evolved into an absolute elite, unbelievable player. But I also think that, like, you can't just spend flippantly on everyone. You have to drive a hard line. And right now, I think that the wide receiver market is inflated. I think they've handled this perfectly. I would be shopping him. And if you can get a haul, great. If not, play on the money. Clearly, they can't afford it.
So you'd shop him before the year? You'd shop him?
If he's driving a hard line and he needs to make exactly what Amon-Ra St. Brown makes, I'm sorry, you're not going to. Projecting forward, I don't think you're as good as him, and I don't think you're going to get the usage as him, and I think that's bad money spent.
Well,
and I'm dicing hairs here. I think he's very good.
Yeah, I will push back before we get to Jose in Oakland. I will push back here for just a little bit. His first season, he came in, was the New York Giants game, was his debut, and he had the jet sweep for a touchdown right away. Then he had the great play against the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Then he got hurt. And, of course, the second year, he's in a doghouse where he doesn't start. And from then, he's been excellent. He's been excellent. He's been as consistent as any wide receiver on this football team. I'd have a hard time trying to look for a package and trading him for right now. But I want to get to a Pearsall comp, or what Willard and Dibs asked about Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Aiyuk. But we got Jose in Oakland on the line here. Jose, what's happening, man? You're on the roast.
Hey, good morning, guys. Look, Amon-Ra demanded double coverage when we played against the Lions. Brandon Aiyuk does not demand double coverage. Other teams plan mainly for Debo, Kittle, or CMC, and Aiyuk benefits out of that. Okay, so to me, Brandon Aiyuk is great for what we have. I like him on my team. I want him on my team. But honestly, I think the Niners are thinking, okay, look, we're not going to put ourselves in a situation where next year we're going to have to figure out who to cut because we're trying to make the salary cap fit. To be honest with you, I think it's not even a joke. I think it's his wife is in his ear. And if she's not happy with the money that he's supposed to be getting according to her, he's not going to sign. But he's still on the team for one more year, whether he likes it or not. And I guarantee you, if he doesn't sign, he's going to play because his wife is going to tell him, you know what? You're not going to be here the whole year not making any money. You better go out there, play, and next year, then we'll make the money. So I wouldn't give him that money. Honestly, I wouldn't give him money.
Good call, Jose. Jose says something there, Shasky, where he says Aiyuk benefits from CMC, Kittle, and Debo. But couldn't you say the same about the other players, that they benefit from having a threat like Aiyuk on the outside?
Yeah, I think they all benefit from each other. There's no question. And because of the multiplicity of the offense, it really depends week to week and matchup to matchup who's going to be the main target, who's going to be the one that's kind of the distraction, if you will. But here's the other element of this, and I think that I'm looking at Brock Purdy's situation, right? Like, he's making like $500,000, right? And now these guys all have a very small shelf life to make money, which I freely acknowledge. He is making $13 million this year. It's not like he's on a $700,000 contract, Brandon Aiyuk.
We can't do that, though.
What do you mean?
He's outperformed that contract. He had the second most 19.7 yards a catch last year. Second in the league.
He had a great year.
$13 million, $14 million.
He had a great year.
And you see all these contemporaries who didn't have the productivity that you had in a run-first offense. Like, Brandon Aiyuk was 35th in targets. All right, 35th in targets.
Yeah, but he had one outstanding year, right?
No, he had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah, I would say that it was a really good year last year.
Debo had an outstanding year and did the same damn thing.
Yeah, but his contract was up, and he was a second-round pick and didn't have $13 million under contract.
He had to get new money. He was but
he wasn't making $13 million in the year that he was going into.
$13 million is not a lot for a wide receiver, man.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, like, I'm looking at this. You have to juggle everything.
We can't, this is the NFL. You got to get paid like it's contemporaries.
And again, if he wants to get paid, which I hear his camp, I'm saying to him, look, we can't pay you this amount of money right now. It feels like they were willing to pay him X. He wanted a little more. And they were unwilling to do it for whatever their reason is. Either it's actual cap constraints or they just don't want to pay him that.
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy's contract up.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a good one.
Jerry Jeudy,
3 for $53 million.
3 for $53 million. He was in that same draft class with Brandon Aiyuk, correct?
Yeah.
Brandon Aiyuk's looking at that. Oh, please. Jerry Jeudy can't hold my jock strap. Who else? Justin Reed, like, I push back on that with the $13 million. He wants his new money.
Jerry Jeudy was guaranteed $41 million in signing.
Well, I tell you what.
And I think most people think that that's a pretty over the top.
Oh,
overpay.
it is. No, it's a big time overpay with what he's done in Denver. All right, know the show right now, and we told you to be locked in. So the question is, as we throw out the number here, 415-523-4652, and if you get the question right, you get this bobblehead and you qualify for a Steph Curry autographed jersey. Shasky does not think Brandon Aiyuk is as good or worth the same money as this wide receiver. Question is, Shasky does not think that Brandon Aiyuk is as good or is worth the same amount of money as this wide receiver. 415-523-4652. That is the phone number. You get the question right, you get the bobblehead, and you qualify for a Steph Curry jersey. All right, the cut I'm looking for here was something about Ricky Pearsall. If Aiyuk would be upset about drafting Ricky Pearsall, here's what Houshmandzadeh had to say about that.
I mean, I don't know, BA, but me, TJ, I would care less because I'm thinking in my head, he ain't better than me, so draft him. I guarantee that's what BA thinks. Like, oh, he's pretty good, but he can't bleep with me. And so I'm sure that's mentality. Ricky Pearsall can play, though, by the way. Yep. He's nice. He's real nice. And so, but I guarantee BA's mentality is he can't do what I do. But we know the NFL, every year it's a draft. And that draft is to replace players that were in the league prior. And so at some point in time, we are all replaced.
Have the Niners been proactive for Brandon Aiyuk during this process?
Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They signed Devontae Smith. Since they signed Devontae Smith, the market, like you said earlier, has exploded. So the Eagles, they were proactive. Devontae Smith is probably looking like, man, I probably could have gotten $4 to $5 million more per year. But the Eagles being proactive, they got out in front of it. And the Niners could have done the same thing. The longer they wait, it's like, okay, the next guy's going to sign. And then you start to think to yourself, like, man, I'm really comparable to this guy. Why am I taking what this guy is receiving? So I hope everything resolves itself because the Niners have a hell of a team. That offense is damn near unstoppable. Kyle Shanahan's a great coach, but you just don't want your best players unhappy when you have a history of taking care of your best players.
That I agree with on him completely. Them waiting, it did make the market go up, and it only drove the price higher, which to me, I don't think the Niners are dummies. They knew all these guys, or at least had a good feeling that a lot of these guys were going to ink new deals. I feel like they were dangling him, and they didn't get what they wanted around draft day, and I think they thought he might settle for a lesser number, and now it's not looking like it's coming to fruition.
So, Devontae Smith with the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's 3 years with the Eagles. 240 receptions, 3,178 yards, 13 yards a catch, 147 touchdowns. Philadelphia, would you say they love the pass a little more than they love the run?
I mean, yeah, they've invested heavily in their wide receiver course. So, yeah, that's what they want to do. Although Jalen is a runner and they try to get to the running, but yes, I believe that they want to throw the ball.
So, Brandon Aiyuk has eclipsed those numbers on a lot less targets as I pull up my stat sheet here. Brandon Aiyuk, in those 3 years, he's had 3,183 receiving yards, 303 targets, 209 receptions. Devontae's had 240 receptions on 352 targets. 3,178 yards for Smith, 3,183 for Brandon Aiyuk. Now, Smith, I believe he has 19 touchdowns. Brandon Aiyuk has had 20.
But there's a big gap between Amon-Ra St. Brown's guaranteed money, which is close to $80 million, and Devontae's 51. So, like, you're talking 26, 27, $28 million difference. That is a big difference.
Can we meet in the middle? If you're Brandon Aiyuk?
Well, I think that's where we're at now is someone's going to have to compromise to some degree. The Niners can only afford so much, and it's one of two things.
Right.
Either you're willing to take a little slightly little less than what you're demanding, or you can play elsewhere.
See, I feel like 888-957-9570. I feel like the general public would think that, Devontae Smith, Heisman Trophy winner, Alabama. I think the national perception, maybe I'm guessing here, maybe I'm just reaching, that Devontae Smith is the better player.
I think they're very close.
And the numbers prove that they're very close.
Yeah, I think they're very close. I think a lot of these guys are really close.
But I would say Philadelphia throws the ball a little bit more, and they take a few more deep shots and had a better deep ball thrower, although Jalen Hurts was off his rocker last year. The year before, he was dynamic throwing a deep ball. Aiyuk has been as productive as Devontae Smith in a run-first offense. And Devontae Smith is probably your number 2 option in the pass game outside of A.J. Brown. Brandon Aiyuk may be your number 3 at times.